Let's talk about some of my favorite things to do while I'm overseas on a trip. They're not all the touristy stuff, but some of it is. I'll get into that. So, some of my favorite things to do when I'm overseas, I like to strike a balance. I don't do all the touristy stuff, I do some of it, but I like to do a lot of different experiences that I've never done or just probably wouldn't do at home. Doesn't have to be something that's unique to the location, but maybe something that I wouldn't treat myself to at home. So I'll talk a little bit about how I strike that balance. We'll use my most recent trip in September as an example for this first one for how I balance between seeing the touristy stuff and also doing some unique things. So I was in Rome for my first time. I was in Italy actually for my first time. And I started out in Rome because, of course, there were some things there that I wanted to see. Things like the Colosseum, the Trevi Fountain, take a day to Vatican City, which of course is not Rome, it's its own country. But that being said, wanted to do some of the things that, yes, they're touristy and everybody does them and they're packed and it's hot and you have selfie sticks in your face every time you turn around. They're not great, but they're what you do. So I only spent a couple days in Rome. I think I spent about 3 days in Rome, between Rome and the Vatican. That was enough for me. So I did the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, I did the Trevi Fountain, and I did Vatican City for a day. You're probably thinking, okay, well, what about the other stuff that you didn't do? You didn't go to the keyhole that you can see St. Peter's Basilica through, and you didn't go to the steps, and there's some other things that I know I didn't do. And the reality is, I'm okay with that. I don't have to do everything when I'm overseas. So that's how I start striking a balance. I will likely be back to Rome. Those things will still be there. I'm totally okay with it. Now you're thinking, okay, so everybody does that. What are the things that you do that are different? Well, Rome, using as an example, I always ask people, locals, or say if you're at a hotel, you ask concierge, if you're Airbnb, you ask your host, ask them where they would eat. Don't ask them for recommendations on where to go. Ask them where they would eat if they were taking out a family member or a friend that was visiting. What are their favorite local restaurants, cafes, the places for gelato, because Italy? Ask them where they would eat. It can, whether that's for breakfast, lunch, dinner, something in between. That's where you're going to find some of your best, most amazing, magical places with the best memories because they're the places off the beaten path. They're where the locals go. They're not something you'll find on Google. I like to say that you will probably find them on Google, but they're not necessarily the first thing that's going to pop up. But I highly recommend doing that. And you can do the same thing for bars as well if you want to go out and have a drink. It's just a great way to start. And then to build upon that, once you get to the restaurant or the bar, I ask your waiter, your waitress, your bartender, the host, if you have a local, it sounds like a local sitting next to you, be that person, lean over and ask them what they would recommend, what is considered a local dish or a local drink. I'll give you another example. When I was in Cuba, gosh, in 2017, I went out with a friend to a local bar. They had live music. It was great. And we thought, okay, we're going to have a drink. And I asked the bartender if I was Cuban, what would I be drinking? And he kind of looked at me funny. And my friend who was with me looked at me like I'd crawled out from under a rock. She could not believe I'd said what I said. And the guy kind of looked at me and he says, well, do you like rum? And I go, of course, I'm in Cuba. I like rum, which I do like rum. And I ended up with a local drink that I'm probably going to pronounce poorly. It's called quinchenta. It was amazing. And I wouldn't have had that had I not asked. So ask the locals where to go, what to eat, what they would order themselves. That's one of my favorite things to do when I'm overseas. Another thing I love to do when I'm overseas is I like to book different experiences. And they're not necessarily things that I couldn't do at home. They're just things that for some reason feel that much more special when they're overseas. One of the things I have gotten into recently is booking a local photographer through Airbnb experiences when I'm overseas. Yes, I could book a photographer at home, but there's just something that's so special about being in a new place and hiring someone who's local and getting to see yourself through their eyes, through their lens. It's been an amazing experience. I've done it now, I think, in 3 different countries. I've done it in Morocco, England, and Australia. It's so fun. You get to have, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, whatever you book, you get to have some time with someone who's local that gives you a little bit of a city tour, shows you different haunts, I like to say, things that maybe you would never have noticed otherwise. And you get to walk away, of course, with some beautiful pictures as well. But I love being able to meet someone who is local and you get to experience the place through their eyes, through their knowledge, and you get to share in their passion for their craft, which in this case would be photography. Of course, there's tons of Airbnb experiences. If you've never done it before, highly recommended. There's tons of different things. There's cooking classes, walking tours, art classes, shopping. I've seen advertising on Airbnb for experiences for taking people shopping to like the secondhand stores in London or getting styled by somebody. There's so many cool things you can do that are completely different. They're not your touristy thing. They're off the beaten path. Highly recommend. It's just something that I absolutely love to do when I'm overseas. Another thing I love to do as a solo traveler, most of the time I by myself or I meet up with friends once I get there, but usually a small group. But my favorite thing to do when I'm by myself and I want to go out and see a show or see um, or attend an event that's usually sold out, I absolutely love to go to the box office and ask them if there's any last minute tickets just for one person. I cannot tell you the amount of amazing experiences I have had by just asking, is there room for one? And it doesn't even have to be a show. I've had the same experience getting into restaurants and bars and other places where the line's at the door and you just kind of say, not trying to cut the line, cut the queue here, but I'm one. Do you have room just for one? And I find probably 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. And I've just had so many amazing experiences happen that way. I was in Edinburgh, Scotland years ago now, and was not planned. I happened to show up during the Edinburgh tattoo, which is the show I went to see, but now I'm forgetting. Fringe. It was a Fringe festival. I showed up, had no idea it was Fringe. Definitely not my scene. It was interesting seeing the city so packed with people, but I wanted to go see the tattoo and I knew it was sold out and I marched my behind down to their box office and I said, hey, I know it's sold out. Do you have room for one? And they went, oh my gosh, yes, we have a few single seats left. Where do you want to sit? And I got options. I ended up sitting up, I don't know, about mid bleacher centered in the tattoo. So I got to see the whole thing. It was spectacular. For a food example, it was a bar. I was by myself and walked in and was like, do you have room for one? I see that you're super busy. And they're like, yep, we have room for one if you want to sit at the bar. I said, not a problem. Um, I still have friends at that bar to this day that I go to see whenever I'm back in town. So it's just an amazing thing. I recommend it to everybody. Just go in and just shoot your shot. You have nothing to lose. And if they say no, move on to the next box office, move on to the next restaurant. It's just such a cool thing. And Another thing I love to do, and it was a little on the touristy side, but I will say, I'll preface this by saying, I am not a morning person. Never have been, never will be. The only time I get up in the morning and don't complain about it is if I have an early morning flight to catch, which I rarely do. That being said, go places early. I do not like mornings. I cannot stress that enough, but I have had some absolutely magical mornings by just getting up before everybody else. It bonus points if you could do it during midweek when it's a little less touristy. It can be harder on weekends because everybody gets up. But I've had magical moments where I thought, okay, I'm just going to go enjoy the city and take some pictures without it being flooded with visitors. And I, I, I just look back and I smile at those moments. I had a beautiful morning in Luxembourg. I got to go down to the river there. If you've never been to Luxembourg, I highly recommend it. It's a little hidden gem in Europe, in my opinion, and it was such a beautiful morning there on the river. I've told my Stourhead story here before. If you haven't heard it, I woke up on my birthday super early so I could enjoy the gardens by myself before they actually opened to the public because I was staying at the inn. That's a pro tip. If you ever want to go to the Stourhead Gardens, stay at the Spread Eagle Inn. It is directly across the road from the entrance, and as a guest, you have 24-hour access to the gardens. Cannot stress booking that enough. It's magical, and the inn itself is also a magical experience. I digress. I woke up early. I had a magical morning, and it was my birthday, and I was freezing. Did not bring the right sweater. I was looking at the garden. The sun was coming up and clearing the fog, and the hot air balloon races and from Lolly were starting, and the winds were just right that they blew over Stourhead Gardens. Some of the balloons dropped in. It was magical. So I cannot stress that enough. Wake up early, even if you're not a morning person. It's just amazing. Probably the last thing I'll say that I love to do when I'm overseas, and it seems really obvious to me. You're probably gonna be like, yeah, okay, we know that. If you're going out to eat and you don't have the opportunity to ask someone where to go, or if you just want to like get a coffee, try at least one block over from the big touristy areas, or try like the random dark hidden alley that safety first. But I've definitely been down some side streets where I'm like, that looks questionable, but there's a bunch of people walking, so I'm gonna take a chance. I have found some of the best food books. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I love chai tea. I've found some of the best chai tea just by going down the side street. I think these are the places that are hidden gems because they are so easily overlooked. There's a little cafe that I absolutely love in London. I have probably walked by it for as long as it's been there. Every single time I'm in London, I had no idea it was there until a friend of mine pretty much drugged me into it a couple years ago. It's absolutely wonderful. So I would recommend, if you don't know where to go, pick a touristy area on Google, look for your restaurant, your cafe, and then zoom out or zoom in, but slide the map over one or two streets. You're going to find some amazing gems. Another example would be I was in Italy, I was in Rome, and I was at the Trevi Fountain. I had just flown in. I was dead tired and starving. Just needed food. So I looked at Google, I slid the map over, like I think just one street. I said, okay, where's a good top rated restaurant? Probably my favorite Italian dish I had while I was in Italy. It was amazing. It was delicious. The restaurant wasn't crowded. The service was wonderful. And it was just a magical first night in Rome. So those are some of my top tips. I probably should write a blog post about them, but that's where they are. I think I did like 4 or 5. Hope you enjoyed them. As always, check out the blog, check out some other videos, jump on my newsletter, come hang out in my little corner of the internet. Would love to have you. And I know you're here for her, Mrs. Munch. She's always here. Love her dearly. She's my daddy. And yes, she does have a fur chewing problem, but Vet and I are working on that. So Munch and I, will catch them next time. Bye.